shall we?
Look out for that! Do you remember how we got back up here?
I have to rip out all that plumbing. But other than that, it's perfect. Just perfect.
We want to get rid of the people who have moved in here.
So, see it once, see it twice, third time's a charm.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
He does not work well with others.
Not so fast, brown boy. We're gonna have some last. Nice fucking model!
Beetlejuice hit screens in the USA in March of 1988, with a UK release 5 months later. The film was a surprise hit for Warner Brothers and further propelled director Tim Burton on his way as one of the top directors in Hollywood. The film follows married couple the Maitlands, who both unknowingly die following a car accident. Upon their return home and some strange experiences, they discover that they are actually dead and find a book in their home titled Handbook for the Recently Deceased. This book is a guide to the afterlife, which they turn to for advice. One of the drawbacks of living in the afterlife is that they cannot leave their home. Whenever they try to, they are transported to a desert landscape where giant snakes known as sandworms attempt to devour them. After accepting the fact that they must remain in their house, another unforeseen problem arises. Their house has been sold, and the new owners promptly move in. The Maitlands, confined to their loft space, fail in their many attempts to scare away the new inhabitants. And against the advice given by the handbook and their personal afterlife caseworker, Juno,
Don't even say his name. You don't want his help.
they enlist the help of a spirit called Beetlejuice, who promises to rid their home of the new owners, but has ulterior motives and ends up causing chaos. Now Adam and Barbara must join forces with the couple's goth daughter Lydia to stop her parents' plans and also return Beetlejuice back to his rightful place. Following the success of his debut film Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 1985, Tim Burton was looking to adapt the comic book Batman to the big screen. Warner Brothers were happy with the success of Pee-wee, however were not very confident that Burton could make Batman a success. After Burton was sent the script for Beetlejuice, he agreed to direct. Part of Tim's vision for the film was to tone the film into a 1950s B-movie style, which whilst kept the effects budget down somewhat, it also gave the film a unique tone. Alec Baldwin was top of the bill, playing the character of Adam Maitland. The eldest of the Baldwin family, Alec started his career in the early 80s in television, leading up to roles in films such as Working Girl and Married to the Mob. Following the success of Beetlejuice, he went on to have a very successful career with over 140 credits to his name. He's also a regular on US comedy show Saturday Night Live, with his famous impression of Donald Trump. Gina Davis played the role of Barbara. Gina had appeared in several roles prior to Beetlejuice, including such films as Fletch, The Fly, and The Accidental Tourist, for which she won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Gina would go on to have a successful career in the late 80s and early 90s, receiving further awards and nominations for her roles in Thelma and Louise and A League of Their Own. Gina returned to television following some less successful performances with her director husband Rennie Harlin, Cutthroat Island, and The Long Kiss Goodnight. Michael Keaton stars as the title character Beetlejuice. Keaton had starred in a few comedies prior to this role, but was not a top name. The success of Beetlejuice and his working relationship with Burton led to Keaton being cast in the lead role in Batman the following year, and its sequel Batman Returns. Following the massive success of Batman, Keaton has been able to choose the projects he works on, with a good mix of both serious dramatic roles, action thrillers and more. Winona Ryder plays gothic teenager Lydia. A relative unknown at the time, Beetlejuice was only her third acting credit. She went on to be a bankable star in many films of the late 80s and early 90s, such as Heathers, Mermaids, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, and was also cast again by Tim Burton in the film Edward Scissorhands. Winona can most recently be seen in the Netflix series Stranger Things. Jeffrey Jones played the role of Charles Dietz. Jeffrey was a familiar face in both television and film since the mid-70s. Jeffrey had starred in a few cult movies of the 80s, such as Howard the Duck and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Jeff's career continued successfully after Beetlejuice. However, the roles dried up quickly when he was arrested for possession of child pornography and solicitation of a minor in 2002, for which he pleaded no contest. Canadian actress Catherine O'Hara played the role of Delia. Catherine also started her career in television before appearing in film. Following Beetlejuice, she went on to her most recognisable role as Macaulay Culkin's mother in Home Alone and its sequel. Catherine did voice work in another Tim Burton film, The Nightmare Before Christmas, providing the voices of two characters. Catherine's career is still going strong, with many roles in television, both physical and also voice work. The $15 million budget only included $1 million for special effects. Tim Burton wanted a B-movie feel to the effects, deliberately made to look somewhat shoddy, while still being of a high standard. This was still a stretch on the budget, as the film called for several techniques to be used, including stop-motion animation, puppetry and blue-screen compositing. Visual effects supervisor Pete Curran and his company VCE was responsible for the special effects. Peter had made his name previously on the Robocop films, as well as working on the original Star Wars trilogy. The end result was fantastic, and ended up adding so much to the feel and tone of the picture, which still holds up well to this day. Pete went on to have a great career working on such films as Starship Troopers, Men in Black, and the Addams Family movies, to name a few. V. Neal led the team responsible for the makeup effects. V was previously known for her work on films such as Star Trek the Motion Picture and The Lost Boys. V's career continued after Beetlejuice, working again with Burton on Edward Scissorhands and Batman Returns. She also went on to work on some of the most successful films, including Mrs. Doubtfire, The Grinch, Dick Tracy, and the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, amongst a list of many others. Danny Elfman worked with Tim Burton again. Following his first score for Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Danny would go on to be one of Tim's closest collaborators, providing scores for Batman, Batman Returns, Edward Scissorhands, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and many others. Danny also wrote the theme tune to The Simpsons, and is now one of the go-to composers in Hollywood to this day. The film also featured several songs from Harry Belafonte, adding to the 50s feel of the movie. The Banana Boat song, or more commonly known as Day-O, being the most popular, which has remained instantly recognisable from the dinner possession scene in the movie. Following the film's success, Tim Burton wrote a treatment for a sequel. Both Keaton and Ryder agreed to star, but Keaton and Burton ended up working on Batman Returns instead. Throughout the following years, several rewrites and scripts floated around the industry. Kevin Smith was approached at one point to write, but instead chose to work on Superman Lives. There has been talk many times throughout the years, however nothing has ever materialised. The success of Beetlejuice spawned a cartoon series in 1989. The cartoon followed Beetlejuice and Lydia exploring the land of the Neverworld, expanding on the ideas briefly presented in the film. The show ran for 94 episodes over 4 seasons, ending in 1991. The show also prompted a line of action figures, based on the original movie, to be produced by Kenner.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice!
Yeah,
Yahoo! It's showtime. Hey, annoying hombres making you do stuff you hate. Don't lose your head. Make them history. Think that's scary? Watch this. Whoa! That went right through me.
Did you see that?
Now watch this. First, a double team. Now, a double scare. Nobody beats me. So when you want to scare somebody, give me a call.
Beetlejuice! 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 Gotta go!
In 2019, a stage musical based upon the 1988 film opened on Broadway. The show was very popular and continued its run up until the theatres closed during the COVID-19 epidemic. Beetlejuice is still a favourite and continues to have an enormous fan base. It made many of its cast stars and propelled Tim Burton to become one of the most popular directors in Hollywood. From Michael Keaton's excellent performance as Beetlejuice to the effects work, everything works well together to make this an unforgettable movie. Its appeal never decreases. I think this special blend of differing talents made the film what it is, and I don't think they should make a sequel. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments. This is Neil Bowyer for Retro Reels. Thank you for your ongoing support. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on Retro Reels.
Hey, Doc, this is it.
Great Scott!